Hello, hello. I'd like to welcome you to Amir Shakur Speaks and the Amir Shakur Speaks Show and the Amir Shakur Speaks channel with your host, Amir Shakur. That will be me. Wanted to thank everyone who's watching or who's gonna watch the stream and got a pretty amazing and interesting segment for you today. We are opening up talking about a issue that's been permeating our community since March. DEI, taking not a different swing, but it's definitely something that's affecting us on a greater level. So I'd like to welcome you to Amir Shakur Speaks, which brings the best of information, faith, and politics, all done from an inspirational perspective. Today, our show is sponsored by Black America World News, the Chicago Urban Daily, and the Amir Shakur Speaks Broadcast Network. And I'd like to send a happy shout out. Let me say that again. I'd like to send a shout out to my people at the Thornton Township Citizens Action Committee. All right. So if you're joining for the first time, drop your questions in the chat, and we love to answer them. Also, show some love and subscribe to the channel. So appreciate y'all. Let's get it in. Let's get it in. So today, we're talking about the DEI situation and how it's affecting our community on a long-term basis. DEI, for those who don't know what DEI is, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just a little bit of a sweep, and then we're gonna get right to the video. But since March of 2025, uh, Target has faced numerous challenges, including declining sales, declining foot traffic, and declining in the brand identity. And not only was it going on since 2025, but it's been a factor since 2022. Inventory being gutted, increased inflation, consumer backlash from the DEI policy changes, and rising retail theft, especially in some of the urban stores, right? Right. So the company stock has fallen as a result of all of that, and it's the stores that have seen a decline in the customer experience as well. I know, and we talked about it. I've actually toured the stores. I actually participated and have been a willing participant in the DEI rollback. So definitely not good. I mean, I used to be an executive with Target way back in the day. Target Greatland, Target. Y'all remember that? And yeah, it's not like it used to be. The good old days and the glory days seem to be gone. With products locked in the cabinets to combat theft, with issues of understaffing, empty shelves. Target is also dealing with external factors like high inflation, the rising Trump tariffs, and just inventory oversupply. So we want to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to start from the DEI standpoint, which is where our situation starts here. All right. So let's get into, without further delay, let's get into a video. And even before I do that, good evening and welcome everybody who's here and is watching. And like I said, you can drop a question in the chat, and feel free to participate. You guys are welcome and always appreciate it. I'm going to start with just the explanatory video of what it is, and we'll take it from there. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to pull it up.
Well, trouble is brewing at Target as the retailer is facing a boycott by shoppers.
It stems from a decision made by the company tied to a hot-button political issue. ABC's Andrea Fuji explains.
As Christians mark the season of Lent, shoppers across the country are giving up Target.
What you see believers globally doing is stepping away from something, sacrificing something.
staging a 40-day boycott of the retailer. It stems from the company's decision to roll back its diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, eliminating hiring goals for minority employees and altering its diversity initiatives.
We need to hold larger corporations accountable.
A church in Georgia launched the boycott, now gaining tens of thousands of followers. Target isn't the only store to scale back DEI initiatives. Walmart and John Deere are among the many others that have also backtracked amid public pressure and threats from the Trump administration to investigate what it calls illegal DEI.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector.
Sales at Target declined last month, and its predicted growth this year is only about 1%. Now, with rising inflation and tariffs, experts say the timing of this boycott could mean trouble for Target's bottom line.
It's really like, do you get enough people actively supporting a boycott such that, it actually resonates into the boardroom?
Target has not commented specifically on the boycott, only saying the company is committed to inclusivity and offers a range of products from Black and minority vendors. Amir A.H, ABC News.
So that's really the gist of it. The DEI policy really had affected the whole overall structure in the company in general. And like we said, Target faced a backlash when they initiated the rollback of its DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion earlier in 2025, March, that is. So they had programs in place like Racial Equity Action and Change. It was called REACH. The African American urban vendors that reached out to the urban community, some of them were stripped of their patronage. They were stripped of their rights to be a vendor with Target. So there was a whole initiative when they pulled the DEI back. They pulled REACH, and it affected the vendors. Vendors were left in the dust. They didn't know anything about it, and from that point on, Target had a major issue on its hands, right? Partly due to the pressure from activists and potential legal challenges involving external landscape happened, and the boycotts, the shift triggered the boycotts and criticism from not just faith-based leaders but even political leaders in the urban community, in the urban and Black communities, and the company's mishandling of the issue really led to a lot of problem, a lot of blowback for Target. Just wanted to, again, talk a little bit about what happened prior to the DEI. And then, we have to be clear that the DEI policy was a major indication. But I want to be transparent that Target had financial and operational challenges even prior to that. So here's an example. In 2022, Target misjudged consumer spending and over-ordered a large surplus of unsold inventory, which forced aggressive discounting and heavy losses. And honestly, 2022, I really don't think that they came back from that. The Trump tariffs, which rise of potential tariffs, have caused uncertainty for a lot of brands, not just Target, but you see increased costs for the company, a lot of companies, and they have significant challenges with imports from overseas. Other factors, Target had a brand identity crisis. Target struggled to maintain its unique appeal to shoppers, and in some ways, that I think it just lost touch. It lost touch with some of the better merchandise, the eye-catching merchandise, or maybe even electronics. We saw larger electronics, kind of like a competitor to Best Buy, to join them down. And as we speak in current day, these things are so minimal. The well-kept stores that we know of the past, we don't see it. So, as I said, those were some of the factors, but the DEI backlash and boycotts is kind of where we're dwelling. So Look, again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the future of Target and the backlash that they're facing with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And just want to welcome everybody. Thank you, Beth. It's crazy. Ramona, hello, everybody, and welcome. And yeah, if you got any questions, drop it in the chat. I just wanted to share where the March boycotts came in. And I actually toured the stores. I actually did a boycott, and the issue is kind of near and dear to me. But I also want to say that I'm a little bit on the side of there's been some issues with the boycott, just to be transparent. Some people may not want to hear it, but there have been, and I want to be totally transparent about how I feel, my opinions of those. Before we even get into that aspect of it, I just want to roll back to March 2025 with the call to action and the boycott that Nina Turner was one of the first people who, for me, really kind of initiated this whole thing, and it's where I heard it from. And then Pastor Jamal Bryant took it over. So I'm going to play a little bit of that video. I'm going to cue that video up and play a little bit of it. And we're going to talk a little bit about how this whole thing started in March, just from a perspective of where I stand. So let's go ahead and pull that up and share that with you guys. Associate editor for Black America World News, and he's known around the world as one of the bright minds of the urban or the Black community. All right, Mo Barnes, Morehouse's finest, and we're going to be talking a little bit the helm and providing interesting more funding for Target. So they went in. Health product. I'm looking for Tabitha Brown, all of the African American vendors from Target. Let's see. Hey, somebody working over here? Yeah, I do. Tabitha Brown. Yeah. She's got a whole line. You ever seen that line? Shame on you. See my skin, it looks so beautiful because I wear Tabitha Brown. For real? Yeah, you should have known that. No, I'm just playing. Well, y'all did have them on the end cap. What's going on with that end cap? That's crazy. It might, she's the vendor, but it might be under another name. So look, y'all, check it out. Check out that end cap, and this is one of the more pronounced Target stores in Chicago. So our focus was the Chicago area stores, and yeah, it just seemed to be an issue from that point on, Target actually keeping inventory in their stores. And I don't know if any of you have been to a Target store lately, but it's definitely a challenge. So I just wanted you guys to get a kind of a snapshot of that inventory. So let's just go back to the video. And I don't wear Tabitha Brown, by the way, but it was really good, try to keep the guys off me, not let them know that I was, kind of on a mission. All right. So there you go. Okay, what about, let me just ask you, is there an end cap for like some of the Black products?
Like a black owned brand. That one's really good. I think that was the only one that we got.
That's the only one you got?
Yeah, I think it's just Lunar Magic. Black Radiance.
Oh, hey, with the name Black Radiance, they better be, you know what I'm saying? I need to feel radiant, you know what I mean? Come on now.
That one's really good.
Black Radiance?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you use?
Me?
Yeah, because your makeup is beautiful.
Thank you. I usually use just drugstore, Milani,
Oh, you don't use none of this stuff?
No, what's that? This is drugstore makeup.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's really different.
But okay.
But yeah, I've never seen any Tabitha Brown or anything for makeup. I know she usually has like cooking appliances.
Yeah, she has that too. Y'all sell those?
Yeah, there's some like in the back for small appliances.
Is it on the end cap or something? Do you know the name of it? Because I'm going to check it.
It's like an air fryer.
It's like an air fryer.
Yeah, we have it like.
So this black radiance right here, y'all see that? Black radiance is a black line.
Hold on, now look
Y'all
at
didn't
this.
know you like me, see?
Check it out. Look at this thing. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but look at this thing out. I don't know if you guys see it. It was literally empty.
On they black, that commitment to black products.
Let's throw that up.
So far, I would say Target's not doing good in this DEI. Go look at the last video. There was a whole end cap for urban product. I'm gonna say urban. And right now, I don't think that it even exists here. And y'all did see.
So yeah, so what we did was we actually did a survey, and that survey, I'm just gonna come back through it. That survey actually went through the Chicagoland area's Target stores, and we were just actually challenging to see if the notions were right about what people were saying with this DEI and if it was affected. So this particular video was recorded in March at one of the greater Target stores. And guys, you know what? I'm gonna be candid, and this is gonna be a short segment, but I'm gonna be candid about the show and what our effort is and the way that I feel like it's been faring. So we grew up with Denise. We loved her. She is biracial, so mom had to buy hair products for her in Gary, not Highland. Okay, at the Gary location, not the Highland location. I know you're speaking about Target. And hello, Crazy. Crazy, you've never been a Target person? Shame on you, man. Shame on you. We're kicking you out the club. I'm sorry, Crazy. You gotta get with the Target program. What's wrong with you? Hold on 1 second, y'all. You know, Target used to be all the rage. Target, you know. Crazy, right? So, you know, we believe that Target's war on urban America was a very bad decision. And not only Target was affected, but McDonald's. What other companies pulled the DEI initiative playbook game that the Trump administration when they came in? Let's see. I just want to be clear. DEI companies. I know McDonald's was one. Didn't hear about a lot of boycotts, which is it's kind of crazy because of the amount of money and support that McDonald's gets and gives to the community. They should never, ever be involved in DEI. I will say that there were companies like Costco, Apple, and Disney that maintained their commitment to DEI. And again, if somebody's asking what is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So Costco, thumbs up. Apple products, if you got those, thumbs up. Disney, yay. We're gonna support you guys. But you know, Meta guys, Facebook decided the DEI team in its diverse slate approach, which, you know, for me is Mark Zuckerberg. You guys that's a little bit of a problem for me. I don't know how you guys feel, but many other companies, including Walmart, Amazon, and McDonald's, as I said, have reduced their DEI related initiatives. So, you know, definitely want to give thumbs up to the folks who stuck it out. So the political and legal pressure is where we want to go right now. So, you know, the Donald Trump and the mega folks felt like this initiative was worthwhile. Really, there wasn't a lot of reason why the Trump administration decided on this DEI crackdown. But I just wanna pull I want to pull that report from when he decided to pull it back, and I think it started. Hold on 1 second. Let me I think it started with his the week after he was elected with his campaign speech and the first time he did his first State of the Union address. And he man, but actually prior to that, we're talking about the situation in Florida with the cultural the anti-woke campaigns, which is, I'm sorry, that's where I wanted to go, anti-woke, and how you guys feel about that. I think that was a precursor to DEI. So let's look a little bit of let's check that speech out and just share that a little bit, because I think it's very, very important that we break that down.
And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America.
Wow.
I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
How did that project go down? How did that project go? The Gulf of America.
And likewise, I renamed, for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military.
So there you go. There you go. Crazy. Glad they took that BS out of our military. So I guess you're a fan of that. Yeah, you're gonna explain that a little bit for us. It's definitely a controversial issue, but let me go ahead and finish playing.
And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important. You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Oh, okay, guys. Give me 1 second. So yeah, yep. The anti-woke issue, to me, was really the precursor of where we're at now. Anti-woke, right? What was that? Somebody says, "What was that?" And you know what? If you want the military issue, if you want to talk about that, I think that's something that we can drill down into too. But the anti-woke issue, what that was the political backlash against progressive social movements, and they were broadly labeled woke. The term woke to me, was a African American slang, anti-slang slant or anti-African American slant to describe the African American community and issues that were pertinent and awareness, especially racial injustice. Okay, but for us in that community, it was repurposed by the opponents to be a prerogative to degrade everyone, and the anti-woke rhetoric was just a way to kind of minimize the cultural influence and the things that had come out of uh, the affirmative action, and things of that nature. Okay, so opposition to DEI was the precursor, was the anti-woke campaigns and the legislation that started in schools, that started in government and corporations, and they were largely discriminatory ideologies. Many of us, not just in the urban community, but across the board as Americans, a lot of folks feel that it was based upon nothing substantial, but it was based upon discrimination. I was going to say criminal issues, but no, it's just discrimination. Hey, some of it might have been criminal justice issues, but the rejection of critical race theory (CRT) happened right around the same time, or a little bit before then, and it's the primary academic framework where folks were taking they were taking books out of schools because they said, hey, this is a racist thing, and they argued that the teachings made um, European or white students feel guilty, and they didn't want to promote diversity, or they made the students feel bad. And some of the books, the list of the books, pretty questionable stuff, right? In March of 2024, the federal government appeals upholding an injunction blocking Florida's Stop Woke Act. And Florida was really one of the primary states that really pushed this. And they found it unconstitutional. So, basically the main land that was blocking CRT, which was Florida, the DEI and anti-woke policies, and we know that the governor there, he was a big cheerleader for it. So, want to share a little bit about how it works, and it's conservative, it's right wing. For those who I don't want to make this political, but I just want to show a little bit about the need that they feel to remove DEI, and I think it was a discussion that's necessary. So, what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? Um, Before I even go to the video, let's just get some comments going. What is inclusiveness instead of DEI? Well, diversity and inclusiveness is part of the DEI. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion, or equity meaning that distribution of all policies and procedures towards everyone. So, and as you saw Trump state in his campaign speech when he was first elected in the office, the first State of the Union address is really what it was. He felt like DEI was something that was woke. It didn't pertain to the general basis of America, something that I'm highly, highly in disagreement with. All right. I never really liked Target, everything overpriced. Yeah. Lot of janky clothes, overpriced stuff. I'm with you. I'm with you. Uh let's see. Glad they took that BS out of the military. So crazy. I know what you said. I'm an insurrectionist too. Okay, were you down with the January 6th folks? Were you down with that program? Tell me if you want to talk about it. You feel free to. Inclusiveness, yeah. DEI, DEI, DEI. Does DEI need to be brushed up to work better? No, it just needs a little bit of DEI was working, it was not working, but there is a counter revolution to DEI. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Let's see if we could just get some more reference to that, just from the standpoint of providing a context. and we saw from the Trump administration. Let's show another video about it from the Trump administration, and I'm going to come back and we're going to break this thing down. I just really want enough information about it. So let's give it 1 second. Let's see if I can bring it up. Okay. Okay.
We have another question from Pennsylvania.
Angelina?
I'm superstitious too, so Senator Vance.
Call me JD, please.
All right.
JD Vance, Senator.
Our children's schools are teaching them that they are victims based on race.
Sure.
Family values are being mocked, and our country is being constantly disrespected. How will a Trump-Vance administration address CRT, DEI, and SEL in the public schools and support parent advocates without fear of government reprisals?
Yes, ma'am. Another big and important question, and I obviously don't know the backgrounds of all of you entirely, at least. I don't know the backgrounds of a lot of folks in the room, but, you know, I'm 40 years old, and so I'm very much a child of the 90s. And my wife is 38, though she's probably going to get pissed off for saying that publicly. Can't take it back now. But, you know, so her parents are legal immigrants from South India, okay? And she was born and raised in San Diego. But I think because we grew up in the 90s, and I'm not saying things were perfect, don't mistake me, but we grew up in a country where we were taught to think about people as people and not as whatever artificial, superficial skin color they had. And I think because both of us grew up with that attitude, you know, we met, we fell in love, we started a family, and we never thought anything of it, right? I mean, there was never, you know, the only funny and slightly awkward comment that anybody ever made is when my mom, but like she actually, my mom made this point to me, and I think it's, you know, mom is so smart. She's just met, and she said, you know, I get really mad at all these people talking about your biracial children, and, you know, whether they're white or whether they're Indian or what their background is. She's like, they're just our babies, right? And I want us to think about all of that is what matters. And so I think one thing that we have to do is do better as leaders. Talking about, yes, of course, we've got, you know, differences, and yes, of course, there are things that happen in America's history that aren't perfect. I'm not saying we ignore that, but we talk about it as a way to getting to a point where we see each other as Americans first and foremost. That's the most important thing. That's what we have to get back to.
So let's stop right there, guys. And I'm going to say one thing crazy. I think that I think that your point as far as DEI and some of the things that happen in sports and even in, you know, academics, going transgender folks going into female restrooms and they weren't female. Yeah, I think that for me, I kind of am on the agreement of there should have been a separate facility. So, you know, and we'll address that as well. But, you know, going back to the breakdown, let me just stop sharing. Going back to the breakdown of what was here with the Trump initiative and the Trump program, you know, the issues, you know, I don't think that they really left an understanding as far as how it was looking ahead. I don't think that the Trump organization really handled this thing right, and, you know, the conservative backlash and the left wing backlash and the pressure from activists all across the board has led to changes. It's been a struggle in our community, not only just from the standpoint of reputational impact from some of these brands like Target, who were held in the middle, But I definitely am in agreement with holding these companies accountable, especially if they make poor public disclosures. They do they're ignorant to or less sensitive to their customer base. And and you would think that they would address these issues to avoid negative attention and negative perception, but they're not doing it at all, right? So I think that, hey, hello Dave, thanks and welcome. I think that the issue that we're discussing Target's lack of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how it's pretty much affected our landscape across America, and then the rollout of different breakdowns of that. I think the issue and the things that happened just prior to that, the rejection of critical race theory, the opposition to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the focus on woke capitalism, the January 16th march, rally and takeover of the Capitol, which, was seems to me like to be a kind of like a poster effect, and these things, not that they lack normalization with our mainstream, but it more for many of us, and I don't know if you guys believe it, but for many of us, I mean, these were political movements and they really weren't grounded in reality. These were centrist movements that weren't grounded in the reality, that were self-adapting, self-serving. And the critics argue that, these are extreme, I'm going to say right wing narratives. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I'm questioning the anti woke label. Some of the commentators have suggested that the prominence of anti woke label may be fading as we even speak. So they started this thing like 3 years ago, but it's fading as we speak. You know, and I think Target is a really great company to, really to see the commitment of a organization that really didn't effectively navigate these issues right. So we started a boycott in March of we started a boycott in March of this year, and it's supposed to be an ongoing boycott. And I think what Jamal Bryant, which leads me to that question, I wasn't really in agreement with the Jamal Bryant standpoint of it, because like even some of the folks who were on the front lines, including myself, we were on the front lines of it, but I think that a lot of that isolation was taken out. It was taken out because, from the standpoint of folks like Jamal Bryant, you know, they they made this a one-sided issue, is what I believe, and some people will fault me for saying that. Um, I don't think that when you roll out an organizational boycott or a national boycott, I don't think it's left up to certain people. I think it's something that's on the ill list of everybody. Let's look at some of the things that Jamal Bryant said about it. I think it's very warning, and we'll take it from there. Give me 1 second. We'll pull it up.
I need allies. I want you to join me.
Tonight, an Atlanta pastor who led a national boycott of Target is reacting to news of a leadership change at the company. Pastor Jamal Bryant of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Stonecrest says he plans to keep pushing for change. Target says Chief Operating Officer Michael Fidelki will become CEO in February as the retailer works to recover from falling sales. Target is struggling with strong competition from stores like Walmart and rising costs from tariffs. But Pastor Bryant, who led the nationwide boycott over Target scaling back its diversity and inclusion policies, says that protest also contributed to the company's financial troubles. And he's urging the new CEO to reverse course.
If he's watching, please, kind sir, we can put a ribbon around this and keep going. Our demands have not changed since February. Number one is that they would honor their commitment to the George Floyd family of $2 billion back into the black community. Number two is that they would invest $250 million in the black banks. Number three, that they will partner with 6 HBCUs. And number four is that they would reimagine what DEI looks like.
On a call with analysts today, Target's new incoming CEO said the company must improve, but he didn't say anything about reversing course on the company's DEI policies.
Yeah, so going back to DEI and where it is and where it isn't, in business, DEI, again, for those who are joining us, we're talking about Target. We're talking about how DEI has affected their mainstream. And, what I believe is I believe in a few years, Target will probably cease to exist, not just because of the DEI, but because of other approaches. So, going back to the business aspect of it, what is DEI referring to? It's their approach to fostering a culture that recruits, supports, and values a wide range of folks from different backgrounds. Diversity is not just representing one identity, one culture, or black folk, so on and so forth, but it's about equal opportunity for all. And that's why, for me, that's where I have to agree with DEI and what it is. It's equal opportunity for all. And if it were just about skill set, then a lot of companies would be struggling because it's a deeper dive, right? It's a deeper dive. When we're talking about capitalism, yeah, the talented folks, the educated folks, the people who have the better degrees get the better jobs. But and what about the people who work their way from the top, the floor sweeper guy who works his way from the top, who becomes one of the store managers, and then that person may eventually become a district manager. I was one of those stories, actually. I became a regional manager in the asset protection division for Target, and the asset protection division is where I first utilized my degree. I got my D. I was a high school dropout. I got my GED when I was in the military service at 16. And when I got out, I couldn't get a job. It was the middle of a recession, and I worked as a door greeter for Target, and I worked my way up all the way to becoming a divisional manager and a regional manager for a company and I mean, 3-figure job. It really provided me with a high level of income, and I think if anybody's a product of DEI, it would be me. So there is a process to ensuring fair access to resources and opportunities and career development for everybody. It's not just an urban thing. It's not just a black thing. It's addressing and removing barriers that may exist for everybody. So, the creation of this woke policy that the Trump administration came up with, I'm thoroughly against it. Now, going back to crazy, we'll go back to your comment, where we draw the line, because I think that it's a relevant conversation. We draw the line with, transsexual men entering into women's bathrooms, so on and so forth. I think that or transsexual men who were playing in women's sports and really killing it. And I think we should talk a little bit about that. Some of the issues. Do you guys remember some of the issues that happened with the transgender? I'm sorry, transgender. I apologize. I'm not trying to be incorrect. I'm trying to address this properly. So the transgender men and women's sports. Let's look at that a little bit and explore that. And I think that I think it's warranted. One second. I want to just play a little bit about that and the fact check with it. I think it's warranted. So give me 1 second. Well, let's pull it up.
Regulations for transgender athletes are undergoing significant changes worldwide. Some international sports organizations, including World Boxing and World Athletics, are reintroducing controversial genetic sex testing. Meanwhile, the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee has effectively barred transgender women from competing in women's Olympic events. Previously, President Trump signed an executive order that banned transgender athletes from participating in women's sports at the federal level.
From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
But how fair or unfair is it really when transgender women compete against cis women? In this fact check, we take a closer look at the facts. But before we dive into this debate, let's clarify. A cis woman is a person who is assigned female sex at birth and also identifies as female. A transgender woman is assigned male sex at birth but identifies as female. When as part of her transition she undergoes hormone therapy, her testosterone levels drop significantly. Among others, this leads to decreased muscle mass, bone density and oxygen intake capacity, all key factors in athletic performance. So testosterone is really important for physical advantages that lead to men outperforming women in many sports.
At puberty, boys' testosterone concentrations increase 20 to 30-fold. We know that increases muscle mass, which then leads to increased muscle strength. We know muscle strength is a key factor in athletic performance.
But doesn't testosterone suppression then level the playing field between trans women and cis women? Not quite. A small study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, for example, came to the conclusion that after at least 1 year of hormone therapy, trans women had lower hand grip strength than cis.
I think that's enough of that. I think that there might be maybe better. I think that there might be better studies and better reports, and I think the U.S. Olympics had a greater issue with that during the last U.S. Olympics season. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I think it's a problem. So men going into women's bathrooms or transgender women going into, I just think it definitely has to be separate facilities and separate but equal. How about that? You remember that statement? Yeah, it's definitely controversial. So getting back to enhanced innovation is what I like to say. Getting back to it, different perspectives, different experiences fuel creativity and innovation within a company, within an organization, within a team. We're talking about sports now. Increased profitability happens when everybody can participate and feel good about supporting the said company, the product, or committed to the team or committed to the goal, or the experience has to be the same. Stronger brand representation, a commitment to DEI builds a positive brand image, and it attracts people like you and I, like Beth, Crazy, like Ramona, Dave, employees and investors who value social responsibility and social impact. A diverse workplace, a diverse team, a diverse product, a product that's not just self-serving, but maybe everyone can use. We better understand those, and we'd be willing to support that more than we will, something that discriminates. So I think that the theory as far as DEI rollback is going to be short-lived. I think that it's wrong, and I think that it needs to be corrected. So hopefully, not in this administration, but the next administration, it'll be corrected. If DEI was brushed up and used more, wouldn't that be a win? Yeah, because diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that it leads to a stronger brand representation. It reflects the market better. When we can support things and better understand them, then it gives a certain base, a diverse base that we all can share, we all can feel good about, and that's an advantage for folks like Target. So that's what they did wrong. I'm going to just just want to talk a little bit about a successful boycott and what it looks like. And then, guys, I just want, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We're not going to break this thing down too much longer, but I do want to say, that when the Target boycott happened, I was in at least several of the stores, and I don't believe that. I'm not sure how well this was received, but I want to look back at a successful boycott because I think it's very necessary to find out where this thing came from. So let's pull it up and let's play that. Okay, give me 1 second.
68 years ago tonight, I saw the end of one of the most influential moments of the civil rights movement.
On this night in 1956, the Montgomery bus boycotts came to an end. For more than a year, African Americans refused to ride until the Supreme Court ruled against the city's segregation laws on public transportation.
Our WVTM 13's Jarvis Robertson looks back on such a pivotal time in Alabama and American history. Jarvis, the boycott had some significant impacts in the state.
Yeah, it did. Now, the Montgomery bus boycott led to the changes in state segregation laws when it comes to riding the bus. It was one of the greatest moments in the civil rights era.
That being removed gave us all a chance to at least acknowledge that we all exist.
December 20th is a date etched in Alabama history for a reason. 68 years ago, in 1956, the Montgomery bus boycott came to an end. Frederick Reed, a history professor from Miles College, says the anniversary will always be significant and should always be remembered.
What it does for Alabama, it shows the progress. I think in order for us to truly move forward as a state and as a nation, we have to acknowledge our past. And so when we get to that anniversary, it's good for us to all stand together and understand where we came from to where we are.
The boycott started December 5th, 1955 and lasted for 13 months. Notably, Rosa Parks, a black woman, was arrested for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger 4 days earlier on December 1st. 9 months before that, Claudette Colvin was arrested for the same reason. The boycott was an effective way to show the city of Montgomery that this form of protest was effective.
That notion of us moving forward, it all revolved around the economic value of black people during that time period.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled Alabama's bus segregation laws unconstitutional November 13th, 1956. It's been 68 years, and times have certainly changed. Being able to learn about the past can help the future.
I think all of us love our country and love our nation, warts and all. I think the biggest issue that we have today is not fully understanding how important it is to teach about all the dynamics of our history.
Now, a 3-judge U.S. District Court did rule 2-1 that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional in June of 1956 before the Supreme Court ruling was made. You can read more on our website and in our app.
So exactly. As we're ending this stream, I do want to say that, I do believe, just a breakdown, I do believe that systematic racism has to be combated. We have to hold a lot of these companies accountable. The question marks that are in the sky is why when we chose Target or Walmart, how effective has that been? Well, Walmart hasn't been affected at all, not that I hear. What about McDonald's, who pulled its DEI issue? What about Facebook, who pulled back and rolled back on DEI? And I'm going to suggest one more organization or one more company, one more structure that may deserve a deeper dive into accountability for what I know to be fervent racism. And can you guys guess what organization or what structure that is? Anybody? Well, I won't have you waiting too long, but let's do this. I'm going to show you which one it is, because I literally have fought issues as a activist over racism with this particular restaurant chain and in our local area, a civil rights issue. But let me share it with you.
Columbia County, a Lake City man is speaking out, saying he and people who were with him were turned away from a Denny's restaurant.
Is it the color of my skin? I mean, that's where I live it at.
Is that the problem? Because it's like everybody else was eating and drinking, and she was standing there and she's like, I'm not going to be able to accommodate y'all.
News 4 Jax reporter Allison Henning spoke with the man and reached out to the restaurant's corporate office and found out the chain is responding swiftly.
It was last Friday night when Elijah Henderson Jr. says he, his family, and his friends were turned away from this Denny's restaurant in Lake City. Staff told him they couldn't accommodate his group, but he believes this was a case of racial discrimination. Elijah Henderson Jr. got a call from Denny's chief operating officer moments before we met up with him today.
Elijah, my name is Chris Brody. I work for the Denny's organization.
He was like, well, I work with the diversity department. I was like, you guys have to do a little more work. I said, because it's not working. What you're doing, it may be working at corporate, but when it drizzles down and comes down to the franchisees, it's not working.
Henderson Jr. was coming with a group of about 25 church members last Friday. He was the first to arrive and was turned away after an employee said she couldn't accommodate them with one cashier and one cook.
I was like, I understand that there's only you and him. I was like, you guys, I say, but can y'all feed us? No, we're not. She's like, I'm not going to accommodate y'all. And then there was another family that came in right after me. She's like, you guys go ahead and have a seat. I'll be with you momentarily.
In disbelief, Henderson Jr. took to Facebook Live in a video that's now been viewed more than 2,000 times.
I feel as if since I'm African American, that's why she doesn't feel like she should accommodate us. I don't understand. I'm not trying to understand. The only thing that I do understand and the only thing that I do know is that they're wrong. They're wrong for how they treated us.
Did it hurt you to hear her say that?
Yeah, I was upset. I wasn't upset so much as that I was hungry. I was upset because I got my family with me. Like, I don't what you look. I just want equality.
We reached out to Denny's corporate office. They sent us this statement. It reads in part, "We were shocked by the unacceptable experience our guests received recently at our Lake City, Florida location and sincerely apologize." It goes on to say, "We simply do not tolerate discrimination of any kind in our restaurants." The company tells me it has completed its investigation and the employee involved in last Friday's incident no longer works here. In Lake City, Allison Henning, Channel 4, the local station.
All right, that's good, y'all. So, Denny's has faced significant racial discrimination issues, particularly in the 90s, and it continues today, involving class action lawsuits by Black customers, and especially since 1994. There was a major class action lawsuit that led to a $54 million settlement in the implementation of DEI, or anti-discrimination policies. And that incident was when 6 Secret Service agents were being denied service, and teenagers being asked to pay before being served. And Denny's has said that it's worked to improve its impact and practices, but there's a serious challenge. They've seen lawsuits, they've seen discriminations, many settlements, hundreds of millions of dollars. Some of the other notable cases, the Secret Service agents that were denied. I believe more recently there was a case. The lawsuits and the settlements, have severely tarnished their reputation, but most people don't know because we don't make these things known. I even led a protest outside of a Denny's in Orland Park for denying a family of a young lady with 3 of her kids. They wouldn't serve them. So, there's a lot of post-crisis that Denny's has. And if there's any organization that is due for a serious DEI makeover, it is Denny's. Denny's has issues, and I think that's where our DEI has to go. That's where our DEI initiative has to go. Sure, Target and the CEO, who I believe stepped down about 2 weeks ago, made some critical mistakes, and it's affected their bottom line. It's affected their profitability. But we really have to hold companies like Denny's accountable when, they participate in systematic racism, and denying racism is a form of racism. denying not only that it exists, but that systematic racism is that it doesn't exist even when you've been confronted with issues of it and you ignore it after paying millions of dollars. For me, that's one of the biggest insults, right? It is insulting. Racism denial is a huge barrier to achieving diversity, equity, and inclusion, or social equity in our country. It is a constitutional crisis, nonetheless, is what I believe. So, if we're going to advance any policies as any structures in the future of America depends upon not denying that racism has played a part in our history, not pulling back some of these statues, removing them and pulling them back and changing the names of some of the military institutions. But let's discuss how these things have affected our community, affected our culture, and how they affect us to date in real time. We should be committed to not letting it define our future, right? So I'm just saying, we gotta be able to talk about how these things exist in real time. And I believe that, Amazon, some of the other companies who roll back, I believe that we need to continue staying on the watch line with them. But the last thing that I want to say is that for anyone who's going to watch this stream is that our commitment to racial equality should not be defined by terms like now we're woke to not next week we won't. Affirmative action has gone by the wayside. I believe that it was a great thing. I believe it will be reenacted during the next administration, even though this administration doesn't recognize it. They don't recognize diversity, equity, and inclusion for their own reasons, which a lot of us have beliefs of why it is. But they don't represent, the White House doesn't represent the global community. They don't represent us. And the last thing that I want to say is movements start when people get together with the right mindset and they come together and they decide that change has to happen. And we've seen it throughout our history. It was the American Revolution. It was the Civil War. It led to the alienation and the ousting of the Nazi Party. The commitment that people cannot be oppressed is a factor not only in our nation's history but in world history. So we should be committed to these things in our future. And because we are in a information highway society that's changing as we speak, the newest thing is AI, we can reach out and connect the dots around the world, and we can see how people are being treated in Asia or Egypt or some parts of Africa, and we didn't have these things before. Before we had to look back when I was a kid, we had World Book encyclopedias that were on the wall, and that's how you pretty much learned about the world. In the home setting, you had two levels of 30 encyclopedias, and they were beautiful. You looked at them, looked at the pictures, and so on and so forth. So anyway, systematic racism exists. It is our challenge and our opportunity to combat it. Will target fair? Will target fair into the next 10 years? I doubt it. I doubt it. They made some critical decisions that affected their bottom line. But let's go ahead and keep an eye out and see how things are. And I do want to say to the powers that be on the side of boycotting Target, my disagreement with them, as I said, was you can't have a structure that is one person or one group speaks for everybody, because in order for it to be equal, everybody has to have a say in this. Mr. Bryant, Pastor Bryant, while his mission is very well warranted, but he doesn't speak for all of America, and I think that that's a problem as well. Organizations and structures that are committed to diversity and have said it, your Costco's, your Amazons, we commend you guys, and we definitely want to support and patronize these type of institutions. So I would say just keep up the good work. Let's continue staying committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, even though our country is going through an upheaval. Our country is going through a debate about it. But past this crisis, you know, the initiatives and the efforts to demonstrate commitment to DEI is definitely warranted, and we have to recognize it in a positive basis. So that's all I got, folks. I appreciate y'all listening in. And hey, listen, if you get a chance, please subscribe. Please like the chat. Thank you guys in the chat room. And I appreciate everything that you guys are doing and you guys have done. And feel free to drop me a line in the Amir Shakur Speaks. This issue is not going to go away. It's only going to be more pronounced. So that's all I have to say. And appreciate y'all. And good night, everyone. Good night in the chat. And thank y'all again for joining.